Aye.
Passes 6-1. Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. Next committee, Environment and Natural Resources Committee, Commissioner Fink.
Commissioners and Mr. Chair, I would need a suspension of the rules to hear the next item. It is an item for a easement across properties, an exchange of easements across properties, and it has not been to committee, so therefore I would move a suspension of the rules.
It's been moved by Commissioner Fink, supported by Commissioner Nelson to suspend the rules. All those in favor signify by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you,
Rules
Mr.
are
Chair.
suspended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just for a point of parliamentary procedures, it takes more than just 50% of the vote on this to suspend the rules, so it needs to be an important issue here. This issue is a roadway easement across tax forfeited land, and I see that Mr. Weber, are you in the room for this particular issue? Mark, would you come forward? This is, and I would move it. It's an exchange, actually, of easements. Mr.
And I
Chair.
would support it,
So it's
unless
moved by
somebody from the district wants to.
Commissioner Fink, supported by Commissioner Sweeney.
Unless you would like to?
No,
Isn't that
no,
your
that's fine.
district? Okay.
And would we defer to administration first for defining the issue?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Commissioner Fink did talk to it quite accurately. This is a request of the board to authorize a non-exclusive roadway easement across tax forfeited land. Hence, Mr. Weber's presence today. It was brought to our attention by the Attorney's Office, specifically Barb Russ, who is probably the most informed on the issue, and she is available to talk to the background and address the sense of urgency. And it is an exchange of easements. The parties in question, the Hutchinsons, will also be granting a roadway easement across their property to the county. And this will help to ensure continued access to tax forfeited land in our forest management programs. But with that, permission of the board, I would turn it over to Mr. Weber and Ms. Russ.
Okay. Mr. Weber, please, if you could identify yourself for the record, it'd be appreciated.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Mark Weber. I'm with St. Louis County Land Department. I'm able to address the issues specific to the Land Department and the benefits of exchanging these easements. There is other history that perhaps the Attorney's Office is better informed than I am. Having said that, we recently lost access down the North Triplet Road that was always assumed to be a public road, and I think through a hearing of some sort, it was declared that is no longer a public road. And we've used that road in the past, and we're hoping to use that road in the future to access tax forfeited lands, several hundred acres of tax forfeited lands to the south of this area in question. After losing access, an opportunity was presented whereby we could gain access through an easement, through an exchange of easements with a private party who also lost access to their private 40-acre parcel and home, I understand, when this road became non-public. So we are working with the Attorney's Office to try and find a win-win situation in this case.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair, if there are questions regarding the tax forfeited issues here, then I can certainly try and respond.
Okay, do commissioners have any questions of Mark at this time? Commissioner Fink.
Mark, this does represent a win-win, does it not?
From my perspective, yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mark, I have Commissioner Sweeney.
Is there a perspective that that it isn't a win-win? Is someone upset about it? I think we should know that too. I mean, if it is.
Mr. Chair, I
think
think
that'd be
that this would be a good point in time to have Barb Russ from the Attorney's Office come up and talk to the broader background of the issue and kind of the specific legal issues, and defining win-win is a judgment call that I don't want to make right here. I would like to have the board hear the rationale for bringing this before the board today. And you did hear directly from Mr. Weber the benefits to the county in terms of access to our tax forfeited land and harvestable acreage, quite frankly. So I think this would be a good time to set the background through Ms. Russ, and then I think the questions will make more sense or be better able to address after that.
Okay, that's an excellent suggestion, but before you leave the podium, Commissioner Nelson has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Rocker. I believe this would be of Mr. Weber before he steps down. The need to bring this in front of the board in this expeditious fashion, I'm assuming is based on the construction season and trying to get something resolved for this party. Is that an accurate assumption, or I guess it's coming here in a hurry, and that's why
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I think Barb Russ can better address that question.
Okay.
Better than I can.
Thank you.
And then before you leave, Mark, I also have a question. I guess in the board letter, there's an assumption made that the values of the exchange are of equal nature, that there is no monetary exchange here. But could you perhaps tell me and tell the board how the value was determined to be of equal and offsetting value? Was there a process that was used?
The easement that the land department will receive will be probably 33 feet in width, and it'll be the same distance in length, and we are granting a 16.5-foot easement. So if you look, when we grant private easements, we look at the appraised value of the land encumbered by the easement, and so I'm assuming these land values will be identical because they're right adjacent to each other. So we will be getting a larger encumbrance, so to speak, than we will be granting. So the value will probably, our value gained will be much higher than what we are giving.
Okay, and then with respect to that, I know that we were provided with a map of the easement that's being requested by the Hutchinsons, but we were not provided with a map that had identified where the easement the county was being granted was. Could you clarify that?
We certainly should have included that in the map. There was a lot of give and take conversations going as we were trying to put this board letter and resolution together. The easement granted to the county would be running along the Hutchinson property right to the south of the easement that we would be granting. And I can provide a better map if that is necessary.
Okay, well, if you could do that in the future as we move forward to, just for our benefit, so we can understand visually where it is.
Yep, and that was a mistake on our part.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, I guess I would ask that Barb Russ would approach the podium. Thank you, Mark.
You want me to sign in?
Yeah, good morning. Please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Barb Russ. I'm an assistant county attorney. This, I think many of you are aware, all of you probably were included on some email communications with the Hutchinsons. And that's when I got involved with this. And what caused the flurry of communications and concerns that the Hutchinsons have about access to their home came out of a court case in which there was a determination that what we've always known as the Triplet Road was indeed not a public road. So the Hutchinsons were faced with losing, access to property on which they built a home, I think just a year ago, and the county, gave them a permit to build that home because we believed they had access. Everybody thought they had access. So they were faced with losing that, and as you also know, there are hearings scheduled for Cartway, both in Van Buren Township and before the county. The reason why we are here is because the Hutchinsons, through their attorneys, have requested an easement over half of the road. The town line is the center line of the existing built road. And, but it so happens that in looking at the title of the property across the road from the Cullens I think it's the Coccies that have property on the other side of the road. The state, in granting title to the Coccies some years ago, I believe it was in the 60s, reserved a 50 feet on either side of the center line of the existing road, and so that remains tax forfeited property. However, that same language was not in the chain of title of the Cullens on the other side of the road. So the only tax forfeited parcel is on the west side, west 50 feet of the center line of the road. So the Hutchinsons were faced with, preserving some rights, and the only thing, and they turned to the county. They were upset with the county because we had indicated they had access when they built their home. So we were trying to work with everybody to figure out, okay, what can be done, to assure these people of access to their property. So the only thing we could see that we could do at this time was grant an easement over the tax forfeited parcel that abuts the Coccie home and property, and the road. They've asked for 16 and a half feet. And I believe their intention is to go forward with the cartway hearings. And indeed, the hearing in Van Buren Township, in that hearing, they will address another 16 and a half feet, or I'm not sure how much they're going to ask for. And Kim Maki is here representing the Hutchinsons, and she can probably answer those questions for you. But we could not grant any kind of, easement over that side of the road. Only the west side of the road. So that's that. We offered that, and it turned out in working with the land department that it indeed would benefit the county to at the same time get an easement from the Hutchinsons in order to, in the future, be able to access tax forfeited parcels.
Okay, do commissioners have any questions of Barbara Russ? Commissioner Fink.
Is there an existing road there today,
There is
or path that they can get?
There's a road. There is a road that's been built and used for over 40 years that St. Louis County believed was a public road. However, the court thought otherwise and determined that because there was not sufficient use of the road when it was first built by the public, you're probably familiar with the 6-year use statute. Well, the court's been whittling away at that and when that applies. And this is one of those cases where the district court, in looking at some precedents set by the Court of Appeals, and possibly a Supreme Court case, I'm not sure about that, but in any event, the district court determined that the use of that road in the previous 6 years and back in the first 6 years was not sufficient to find that it was today a public road. So that's why the Hutchinsons found themselves in the situation of having to seek a cartway both through Van Buren Township and over unorganized territory. And those hearings are set for, I think, sometime in the first half of November.
Does this become a temporary, then, resolution that says this is about access at this particular moment, and then when the cartway stuff is settled, then we rescind this?
No, not necessarily. I think you're still going to have a cartway hearing because this does not take care of the entire length of what they will need to get to a public road. So it shortens up what you need to discuss in a cartway hearing, but there will still have to be on the other side of the road a hearing in Van Buren Township.
Okay, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner Rocker. Barb, had we made any determination if there were public dollars spent on this road?
You know, I did not handle that case, so I can't answer that question. I believe we must have, offered evidence of that, if indeed that was the case.
And Mr. Chair, the reason that I asked that question, and I would appreciate that information, I guess, if at any point public dollars were expended on this road, then I guess my question would be why St. Louis County is not defending that position, or how that determination had been made. So I have been following the cartway pieces of this, but I don't recall seeing or hearing the term public road prior to today. So I guess I would look to the attorney's office or administration to provide that information to the board, because I think it's relevant. If we've been spending public dollars on it, then I would think that we would be defending our position.
Well, we did litigate the matter. And so, we certainly can get that specific piece of information for you in terms of what were the issues in the litigation, but.
Are there other comments or questions? I would just comment that, this is a matter that is in my district, and it has been a very unfortunate and contentious situation for quite some time now, with all parties seeking resolve. I think it's fair to say, per the question of Commissioner Nelson, that the issue of public investment in that road was discussed in the earlier court proceedings, at which time the judge ruled that the road was not a public right-of-way, despite the fact there was evidence that supported public investment in the road. And I think that will all be revisited during the cartway hearing, which is a whole other subject. So I think what's being talked about here today does bring a partial resolve, and I guess I thank the efforts, those in the land department and the attorney's office for their diligence in trying to find some resolve, working with all the other parties involved to bring something forward that at least initiate some possible access for the Hutchinsons. And there are other issues which again will be addressed at such time the cartway hearing takes place. Are there any additional comments or questions of the attorney? If not, thank you very much, Barb. The easement has been moved and supported. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by the sign aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. It passes 7-0. Thank you.